Hello and welcome. You're still watching a TV360 Nigeria live broadcast of the 2023 Governorship and State House of Assembly elections. I am Folashade Ogurinde. The Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has cast his vote in the Governorship and State Assembly elections, saying that the electoral process is not supposed to be violent. Sanwo-Olu voted at Eyikole 006 polling unit, St. Stephen's Nursery and Primary School in Adeniji, Adele, Lagos Island, around 10:30 a.m. The governor also praised the staff of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) for arriving early to the polling unit as well as a turnout of voters. Sanwo-Olu is vying for a second term in office after being voted into office for first term in 2019. He's in contest with a number of candidates, including Gbadebo Rhodes Vival of the Labour Party and Abdulaziz Olajide Adeniro of the People's Democratic Party, among others. Well, still in the southwest, there is low turnout of voters in most polling units in the ongoing House of Assembly election in the 26 state constituencies in Ekiti State. At most polling units in the state, voters were coming to the polling units in small numbers to cast their votes with minimal queues. The special advisor on political matters to the president, Senator Babafemi Ojodu, who voted at Ado-Ekiti, expressed hope that voters will still come out to the polling booths to perform their civic responsibility. Also, Ekiti State Deputy Governor Monishade Afuye, who voted at Ikere-Ekiti, expressed confidence that the All Progressives Congress will coast to victory in all the 26 constituencies. Afuye said that the professionalism being displayed by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and security forces had positively rebranded the country's electoral system. In a related development, the Governorship and State House of Assembly elections in Rivers State on Saturday witnessed a low turnout of voters. Unlike the February 25 presidential and National Assembly elections, which saw a high turnout of the electorate from 8 a.m., the enthusiasm is absent today. Also, the number of people seen at polling units in the area was fewer compared to that of the presidential and National Assembly election, as the state has over 3.5 million registered voters. Well, TV360 correspondent Jide Olaniro joins us now. Jide, thank you so much for joining us. Now, we've had several reports of voter apathy across the country. Is that the same situation at the polling units where you are?
Yeah, right now I'm at on Bodilon Road on Lagos Island, Bodilon Road in Ikoyi. Although I've been able to cover from Alexander Road to Oxburn Road and Oyikon Road, all these are areas in Ikoyi, but right now I'm on Bodilon Road, and I have about 4 polling units on this road, very close to me. One thing that I can say is that I can see that there is a significant population of young voters. They are waiting, they've actually voted, and they are waiting for the counting to start. We were told that the counting will start by 2 p.m., but now it is some minutes past 2, and we are expecting for the counting to start any moment from now. But you could say voter apathy has also characterized some of the polling units that we have visited so far. For example, if you're trying to weigh it side by side from the last polling units that I actually reported from, talking about the Bonicam polling unit where we had the massive turnouts compared to what we have here. It's a far cry from what we have at Bonicam. Here on Bodilon Street, about 4 polling units that we have is just a few numbers of young people. The only significant thing is the fact that we have a larger percentage of young people at this particular polling unit.
Now, Jide, there are also reports of electoral violence. What can you say about the situation at the polling units where you visited?
Like I said, on Bodilon Road, I've noticed that there is a patrol of different security agents. This same spot I've seen the immigration, I've seen the Nigerian Army, the Civil Defense Corps too. They are on standby with the Nigerian police. And don't forget that we have a barrack of the Nigerian police force. That there is a barrack of the Nigerian police force around where I am. So I'm not surprised that there is a heavy presence of the security agency. So far, we have not recorded any violence. Everything seems to be going on well. And just like I said, any moment from now, the counting will start. And there will be sorting. Actually, the sorting is what they will do. They are trying to sort the ballot papers, and then afterwards, then the counting will start.
Well, indeed, TV360 correspondent Jide Olaniro, thank you very much for your time and your contribution. Well, still in the southwest, Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State has urged electorates in the state to come out en masse to exercise their franchise in the ongoing governorship and state assembly elections. Makinde said this after he cast his vote at his polling unit in Ibadan at around 11 a.m. on Saturday. Speaking with journalists, Makinde said that Oyo State government is engaging with the security agencies to ensure the safety of voters and a peaceful atmosphere during the exercise.
Well, you yourself, you can see people are out here exercising their civic responsibility, their civic rights. And from the security aspects, I think it's been so far so good. Let me also use this opportunity to tell our people to come out. You know, they were saying, oh, there will be security challenges. Well, as you can see, there are no security challenges. People are here and voting peacefully, expressing their preferences.
The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has said that the introduction of the Bimodal Voters Accreditation System, BVAS, is a game changer in the electoral process in the country. Speaking with journalists shortly after casting his vote at Orowo 2 polling unit, the minister described the February 25 presidential and National Assembly elections as one of the most transparent and credible elections Nigeria's ever had. While the elections has witnessed low turnout in the state and the community in particular, the minister attributed a similarly low turnout to the change in polling units venue. And now the governor of Bayelsa State, Doye Diri, has condemned the destruction of ballot materials in 4 wards of Constituency 2 in the Ogbia local government area of the state by suspected thugs during the State House of Assembly election. According to reports, the voting materials meant for Ogbia wards 2, 3, 4 and 5 in the House of Assembly election in the state were reportedly carted away by the armed men and hoodlums in the early hours of Saturday. The materials were also said to have been burnt. Diri described the act as highly condemnable and warned those behind electoral violence in the state to desist as the full weight of the law would be brought down on the culprits. He called on the Commissioner of Police to arrest the perpetrators and ensure that anyone found culpable is brought to book.
Very early this morning, I got the reports about the burning down of INEC materials from the rack center in that local government area. And I'm going to issue a press statement on that. And I've called on the Commissioner of Police to fish out those who are responsible for that dastardly act and ensure that they are promptly arrested and prosecuted. And so we have that isolated case at Ogbia local government area in constituency 2 only. But we are still monitoring developments across the state. I'm in touch with the INEC at the state level, and I'm in touch with the security agencies. And we will step up our game in terms of security across the whole state. There are pockets, isolated pockets of complaints here and there, and we're attending to all of those complaints, particularly complaints that have to do with security. And let me also use this opportunity to call on all of us who are in politics. You don't force people to be ruled. You appeal to people and you court people to work with you. And so let us avoid the use of thuggery Fortunately, we have beavers now. And so that is an antiquated political strategy that people are still trying to adopt in our state.
Men of the Imo State Police Command have rescued 19 ad hoc staff of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) who were kidnapped in the state in the early hours of Saturday. An spokesperson in the state, Chinenye Chijoke Oshuji, confirmed the development. She said they were rescued after a distress call and information about the incident was disclosed to the security operatives, who swung into action immediately. The rescued ad hoc staff of the Electoral Commission were on their way to 7 different polling units in Wele Ward 06 in Idiato South local government area of the state when they were kidnapped. She added that some election materials, including beavers and sensitive materials, were not recovered. We'll take a breather now and be back with more stories. To stay with us.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
Accreditation and voting commenced in many polling stations in Ikeja area of Lagos State on Saturday. While the process was peaceful at some polling units, violence erupted at others. At Ikeja Island, voters say they were attacked by some men who, according to them, stormed the area and started throwing stones at them. According to witnesses who spoke to TV360 Nigeria, the incident, which happened at about 11:30 a.m., disrupted the exercise as voters scampered to safety.
Actually, the vote started very early here, and it was going on peacefully. Not until when a big coaster, most of these guys that you're seeing left and right, the coaster bus brought most of them. And we just started seeing some of them were nuns and coming down, and people were wondering where actually they are coming from. It happened in the last election, In this area that I grew up here, we know ourselves. You know who stays where and how. And you now see non-residents coming around in numbers, in hundreds. And I think some of the youths around here got infuriated about that. And that was so that they are saying that talks, they were not talks. Most of the guys that chased those people away were the youth, the young residents of this area who felt, how could you come from far place? Last election, they were actually harbored in various hotels. They don't stay even in Lagos State. because some of them were asking of where poll unit this was and things like, they were not resident of this. They were even asking of where Okwebi, for somebody to be asking of where Okwebi Road is in this our Lagos, and he wants to come and cast votes in this area that they don't stay, they don't know anyhow the places. So that was actually what infuriated most of those young ones who came around to chase them off, and they came with coaster bus. It's even, last week they came with 2 coaster buses. Today they came with 1 big coaster bus, white. That was actually what infuriated the young ones. Now you could see the place is peaceful now, but they started gathering themselves. But the truth of the matter is, most of them that voted here are non-residents of this area. They have majority of them. I don't even know most of their faces. They are faces that I have not come across before. And that is what people are angry about.
As soon as I got to this place, I heard from the Labour Party, what's it called, observer, that they told her to back off, and also the girl at the Okwebi Primary School, they told them to back off. So she said I should be careful, because last time we were one of those that made sure that our votes counted. So this time around when I got here, I joined the queue, and we're just sitting, and I saw so many observers, international observers, different people, white people and all of that. I was like, what's going on here? Because it was looking scary, and then armed men, they were with guns actually, and then touts everywhere. So I was like, okay, I was scared, I was jittery. I actually did an interview. After the interview, I went back and I was still shaking, but I needed to vote. I needed to exercise my civic duty. So while we were standing on the queue, a guy picked up a stone, one of the thugs picked up a stone and threw at one of the electoral observers. I don't know who they are. I actually granted one of their interviews. So because they were trying to interview other people, they threw stones at them and started beating them. I was trying to make a video of it. I was warned. In fact, I have a screenshot of the person who warned me, but he's wearing those face mask. So I stopped, and by the time they were done doing what they were doing on this side, all the fight and all the arguments, those guys left, and every other person left, all the armed people, everybody left. As soon as they left, they started throwing stones at us on the queue. One of the stones landed on my leg, and I went home. One woman's head was broken, and all they were saying is, these people here, they're here to vote for Labour Party. Let me come and see you vote. They were speaking in Yoruba, and telling us that let's see you vote. Me, I went home because I was like, I can't lose my life. I lose my life, I can't vote. So I went home, and while I was at home, someone called me and said that everywhere was calm again. So I came back, and I've just voted. I'm happy that I voted, and I'm hoping that they won't come back, because honestly, I'm still scared, because they are just coming and passing. They're just gallivanting around 1-1. So I hope nothing else happens.
Well, for more analysis, Nelson Ekujumi, election observer and political affairs analyst, joins me now. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, in your assessment of the situation, what do you think is the cause of the high, development in terms of electoral violence in this Saturday's election? We've had cases of ballots snatching. We've had cases of threats. We've also had cases of, voters being chased away from polling units. What exactly is the curse of this incident in this Saturday's election?
Well, you and I know very well that the whole essence of democracy is about the participation of the voters. And if the voters are not there, then democracy has lost, its seasoning. It's no longer democracy. And that is why when you hear incidences of, anti-democratic acts like this, it should worry any, right-thinking and democratic inclined person. So you can ascribe so many reasons. People who don't have respect for the rule of law, people who don't have regard for democracy, which is about the people, people who want to ensure that, it is not about the will of the people, but about the interest, that, they believe in, that should, triumph. And this is utterly, this utterly negates what democracy stands for. The issue about electoral violence, it's something that, as a society, at every point in time, we must put on our thinking cap and find how we can, minimize this to the barest minimum, because it has become a recurring decimal in our elections, and it is worrisome that this is a trend that we have not been able to get over, but as time goes on, we'll continue to put on our thinking caps, how to better the system and, have a democracy in which, we'll have total regard, we'll have respect for the Constitution as well as, the rights of the citizens to access the polling stations on election day.
Then I would like to know, what exactly do you think is the antidote to this, sad situation? Because year after year, ever since Nigeria, began electing their officers or, the executives, we've had this same recurring issue of electoral violence. I mean, this is 2023. You would, expect that Nigeria should have outgrown this. So what exactly do you think could be, the solution to electoral violence in Nigeria? Can we have an election devoid of electoral violence?
Well, that is the dream of every Nigerian, to have an election devoid of violence. And for me, I think the answer to that can be found around us having a discussion, and people putting up their thinking caps and coming up with, solutions. It is not for me as an individual to assume that I have the total solution to a problem that has, persisted over the years since 1999. We have had this recurring decimal, and it is not only alien to Nigeria. We have also seen this happen in other African countries. But when you go to developed democracies, this is almost, absent. And that is why, for me as an individual, I believe if we sit at a round table or in a marketplace or at a village square, we can all sit down and, put up a discussion that how do we address this recurring issue of violence. And for me, one of the major routes for addressing it is for us to increase the tempo of our voters' education and sensitization, because the people who are committing this electoral violence are, maybe they are voters, because I'm not sure they were security operatives, because the people you spoke to now never identified them as putting on any of the security agencies' uniform. And that tells you clearly that these are civilians. This could also be part of the electorate. And if we increase the societal education about what's the essence of voting, I think maybe it will go a long way in addressing some of these things. But majorly, we need to increase the tempo of voters' education and sensitization, such that people will realize that it pays, if you believe you have the manifesto or you have the plans, for you to, engage with the society, so that people will see with you, and, the other candidates can also do the same, so that it will be the will of the people who are able to, attract their interest, attract their attention, who are willing to vote for you, rather than, people who believe, oh, I will lose this election, so the best way for me to avoid defeat is to truncate the process. That is not the right way to go. It's totally condemnable. But like I said earlier on, we need to have a discussion around this issue of electoral violence. It has persisted, and I don't think it is insurmountable. It's something we can get over.
Now, the question on every Nigerian's mind is, what about security operatives? Just before every election, we see heads of security agencies promising that the election or forthcoming election will be different from that of others. But sadly, it's still the same vicious circle. What exactly are security agencies missing in their attempt to curb electoral violence in Nigeria's electoral process?
Well, what the circle of electoral violence has shown to us is the fact that our security agencies cannot protect our democracy to ensure that electoral violence does not occur. The responsibility for protecting our democracy lies with the people. This morning, I left where I reside in Agege local government. I went to Alimosho. From Alimosho, I went to Ojo before coming to Ikeja. And if you know the landscape of Nigeria, you know that definitely we don't have enough, because if we even say we want to, dispatch security to every polling unit, we don't have enough manpower to do that. And that is why you find that in some polling units you have a civil defense, in some polling units you have a road safety official and what have you. That tells you clearly that we are under police. So when the security agencies tell you that they are going to provide security, you should go to sleep with the mindset that, look, the security they are going to provide is within their own means. They can't do more than themselves. And you look at the geographical landscape of Nigeria, you know they cannot provide the security totally. It is the people themselves who should provide such security. So what this tells us is that, you know, like I said earlier, we need to have a discussion around this issue. For today, I must confess, unlike the presidential election, we saw a more visible security presence. On most major roads, you either have policemen or soldiers manning checkpoints. And if you don't have any reason for being on the road, you are sent back. In fact, on your way, people will already be telling you, don't go, they will send you back. And if you get there, if you don't have means of identification, you are told to go back to where you are coming from. So there has been increased security presence to ward off, you know, evil merchants. But, you know, because of the way our society is structured, it is impossible, let us be honest with ourselves, for the security agencies to protect and prevent violence. While they are in point A, or if you have called them that we have threats here, before you know it, this merchant of violence will have moved to point B. And by the time they attend to issues in point A, before they move to point B, you will also hear a report that, oh, some people are disturbing us in point Z. And maybe point Z is about, you know, 10, 15 kilometers before the security apparatus will get there. Don't forget, as our elections is policed or is done with obedience to the Electoral Act, which does not allow the presence of security operatives with arms and ammunition within the vicinity of the polling unit, but within, you must be some distance away from the polling unit. So that has also given this anti-democratic element the leverage to be able to unleash violence on the electorate on elections. But majorly, we need to increase our engagement with the political parties. We need to empower them. We need to educate them. We need to sensitize them, as well as the electorate, so that, you know, the electorate themselves will take charge of the security. The electorate will see that, look, what I'm going to do is for my own good. I better refrain from doing that evil act. So for me, if the security agencies have given you all the assurances, you must also recognize that, you know, they have some limitations, you know, according to law and according to their numerical strength.
Well, indeed, Nelson Akujumi, political affairs analyst, thank you very much for your time and your contribution.
Thank you very much.
And moving on, the governorship candidates of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Lagos State, Olajide Adeniro, also known as Jando, has called on security agencies to live up to expectations in the ongoing governorship and state assembly elections. Jando made this call after casting his vote around 11 a.m. this morning in Lagos, lamenting what he described as widespread of violence, harassment, and intimidation of voters. In spite of his lamentations on insecurity and voter intimidation in various parts of the state, Jando expressed confidence that he will win the entire 245 words at the end of the voting exercise. Well, still in Lagos, governorship candidates of the Labour Party in Lagos State, Gbadebo Roads Vival, says it will fight to the very end if the polls are not free, fair and credible. Speaking to newsmen at his polling unit in Ward A045, Oshifila Abule Ibira, Anifowoshe in the Ikeja area of Lagos, it says that Lagosians deserve a good life and in that Lagos has the money for a good life. It says that a full-scale monitoring process is already in place to ensure that the elections are not hijacked by politicians who do not have the people's best interest at heart. And now, still in the electoral updates, we have a story here that Ubasani, the APC governorship candidate in Kaduna, has cast his vote.
INEC have done extremely well, and the fact that they have decided to extend the election for at least a week, it makes them to properly organize the process, and the process have gone extremely well. I'm happy with the process, and I'm confident APC will win this election by the because here in Kaduna we don't have instances of crisis and chaos. It has been smooth so far, and I have no doubt in my mind all the candidates will accept it. But in some instances, we have recorded some cases of PDP printing the ballot before even they arrived to the polling units. So that is the only cases we had experienced, particularly in Kajuru local government and Zare local government. PDP penetrated the INEC and have decided to collab with some INEC officials to print some of the ballots, particularly in Kajuru and in Zaria. But we are still trying to find out whether it has escalated to other local governments. But so far, that is what really happened. But we are doing our best, talking to the INEC officials to unravel the culprits, those that have conspired with the INEC officials to print the ballots papers before arriving to the polling units.
Reports as well.
Particularly in the southern part of Kaduna, where the PDP mobilized talks to harass some innocent voters, mostly of APC. But we have reported the incidents to the security agencies, and I'm sure they will do the needful. That's what is happening at the moment. Most of those cases are in southern part of Kaduna, where PDP decided to mobilize talks, because I'm sure they realized that a lot of voters that came out this morning are supporting PDP and are out to vote for PDP. But we, as the ruling party, will do our best to adhere to the rules and make sure that the election continues smoothly.
And that's it on our election update. For now, do join us on our subsequent bulletins for more updates. I am Folashade Ogurinde. Bye for now.